Here we are in downtown Singapore with the one and only Paul Gardner from Fresh Accountant, advisor extraordinaire, Hong Kong, Singapore, London. There's quite a story here to unpick, so thrilled to have Paul, a long-term friend of ours, a supporter of Spotlight and all things advisory, here to talk about the journey, and hopefully those of you watching will learn some stuff.
Thanks, Richard.
From Paul. You're welcome, Paul, and nice to have that latte. Up the road, decent coffee, believe it or not. So going right back to when you were younger, fresher, what first inspired you not only to start Fresh Accounting, but as a UK lad to move to Hong Kong?
I think it started with having parents that always lived overseas and worked overseas. So I grew up across Africa throughout my young years. My father's also worked in the Middle East and in the US. So there's always something that I wanted to do it one day. My career started at the age of 17, and I've always worked in-house accounting roles throughout my career. But I've seen businesses expanding into Europe, into Asia, US, Australia. So there was something that was quite interesting for me wanting to work overseas. I specifically chose Asia because Europe back then was quite close to the UK. I didn't realise Brexit would happen. Australia and New Zealand felt quite far from home. Hong Kong and Singapore is only a 12-hour flight, so if I need to get back, I can. Only 24 hours if you go on to Australia or to New Zealand. But I really decided that I wanted to work in Asia, and I made that decision in 2012 when I came out to see friends in Hong Kong. And I was quite agnostic whether I chose Singapore or Hong Kong. But I came back out in 2013, and then officially, after selling my home in South London, arrived on a one-way ticket in January 2014 with my life savings in my bank account, which wasn't much. And I chose Hong Kong.
But you hadn't lived in Hong Kong?
Hadn't, no.
You had this international background, so it was probably less scary for you than maybe others to go somewhere else. Still a big moment. Talk to us about the turning points.
So I felt...
How did you make it work?
Interesting. When I realized if you're trying to look for a job, if you need to be living in that city or the county of where that job may be. So to sort of say where you're living in London, where you have a job, you have a property that you're living in, everything's quite comfortable. Having a interview over Teams or Zoom to Hong Kong, Singapore, somewhere in Asia was never going to work. You have to actually be here in Asia. As a management accountant, I did take some risks before I actually came to Hong Kong. I met 8 recruitment agencies over a 24-hour period. 6 of them said, don't come to Hong Kong, you can't speak Cantonese, you've not worked in a listed company, which is not true, or you've not worked in banking. But then 2 of them said, give it a go, what's the worst that can happen? And I think the management accountant was that I like these 2 recruitment agencies, and if I listen to them, what is the worst that can happen? But to find a job in Asia, I just needed to live here.
So you started off perhaps slightly differently to some of our listeners as a management accountant. So there's kind of a little bit more perhaps of the CFO vibe.
Yes.
About what you're trying to do.
Yes, and I think for me, I never really got to the CFO level in the UK, as in job title. But also what's quite interesting was that if I look at some of my last roles, I was helping raise finance. I was attending board meetings, board packs, raising capital. I was a finance manager or a financial controller as a title, but I was doing way more. So I think coming out to Asia, I didn't really have that mindset of I'm a CFO, I should be doing CFO things. I think having some conversations with people more recently, everyone would say, what does CFO stand for? And in an SME, I'd always say it's Chief Fixing Officer. If you speak to a multinational CFO...
I'm glad that's where you went. I was wondering if you were going to go with that. It's a family show.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. If you look at multinationals, the F stands for future. So Chief Future Officer. And I just think in SMEs, constantly trying to fix a problem. And so I think in Asia, when I came out to Hong Kong in January 2014, I chose Hong Kong because it's a bigger city, a larger population, less opportunity to fail. But I always had Singapore in my mind that if I do one day maybe start a business, or if I look for my next job, it will be across both cities.
So that started to happen, but we'll go back a step. You got a job initially in Hong Kong.
No, well, yes and no. So I had plenty of job interviews, plenty of rejections.
Mm.
At the same time, I met a CFO who was looking for some part-time help. I met some SMEs that really needed help. Their accounts were a mess. And so in order to actually get started whilst being in Hong Kong, setting up a legal entity was the starting point. So Fresh Accounting was an interim solution of being able to help clients or businesses, a CFO, to do some work. And then it was
happened organically.
Very organic, and it was interim. And the idea was that the business would cease once I find a job. I didn't realize 11 years later, I probably still am looking for a job. However,
so some of the recruiters were possibly right in that you were semi-unemployable.
Thank you.
But you made it work anyway, and you attracted these clients. At what point did you know, I've got a business?
I think within about 6 months.
Wow.
4 to 6 months. There was a few turning points where I always think, coming from London, businesses will recommend you based on the technical competency and experience that they need. In Asia, people just connect with you or recommend you, not because you're a nice person, but if someone says they need an accountant, they recommend someone they've had a good experience with. And it might be that you can't help them, but the fact that you're recommended, you can go in and have a conversation, really means the world. I think when having a business, I realized that actually saying yes to some really interesting projects. And at the very beginning, I said yes to almost everything. And then
we've all been there.
It took a while to learn to say no.
Sometimes you have to exit them later.
Yeah. Just got to get the revenue and get not so much the revenue, get the cash in the bank. But I realized that within 6 or 7 months, the business actually needed an extra pair of hands. And then even within the first year, there were, I think, 3 of us or maybe 4 of us on payroll within the first 12 months.
It's quite a quick trajectory.
It was. And I think it was, how do you build people's careers? How do you ensure that they have longevity, that they can continue to learn? And it was just trying to build, I don't want to say a Ponzi scheme, but building a pyramid scheme.
Well, did you actually build formal referral networks, or was it all
informal?
Just informal.
Very, very informal.
How's that contrast to today? Is it still informal word of mouth, or are you a bit more?
We were just talking about some client
intent around.
I think there's more intent. But at the same time, I still think it's very informal. It's very organic. We have realized the importance of building a better network, of building a network where businesses or partners know that we are there to help in certain areas. Digital transformation, helping, because quite often if you're putting in a new system and a process, it's not just one country. It's normally it's across Hong Kong, it's across Singapore, maybe Australia, and it's multi-currency, intercompany. It's more complex than just a one business with a single currency. And I think for us, the informality is still there. I think that's what makes us quite unique. But at the same time, we are looking at how to formalize more. But at the same time, by keeping that informality, allows us to keep the strong culture that we've had since the early days.
So your partner in crime, Nick, joined, 2017?
No, actually, Nick joined 2000, so we started fresh in January 14. Nick joined informally, working weekends. I had to work every Saturday that I remember, in late November 2014.
Wow.
And he officially was the first person to quit his job and join Fresh in January or February 2015.
So talk to me about the importance of, and of course it doesn't need to be a life partner, but of having really good, solid people around you that can maybe start to take some of the pressure off yourself as a solo alpha.
Never work with your loved one.
Too late for both of us, isn't it?
Keep it in the family. I think what's important is you have to find people that are in some ways smarter than you. You have to find people that have
It's hard, isn't it?
It is. It is hard. It's really difficult, but it's not impossible.
That's why we're sweating.
Yeah. I think you have to find people. I've always believed, especially when I left school at 17, various finance managers, directors, CFOs employed me, and I'm very grateful for that. So I believe in employing people that have a talent that can be developed. So we're not trying to recruit someone with this degree, with this qualification at this age. It's just
how important is the human aspect of them, the ability
100%, 100. Because I think the
a lot
ability
of
is
accountants forget that, don't they?
They
They
do.
hire the A student who unfortunately can't speak to other humans.
Yeah. And I think this is something that's very interesting across Asia, where English is a second language. So back in many decades ago, when people choose accounting as a career in the UK, New Zealand, Australia, you choose it because you hate talking to people. You're not a good communicator. So you choose accounting sometimes just to hide.
To hide behind, yeah.
The management accounting in me has always meant I'm a bit of a social talker, storytelling of numbers. I don't know where that comes from. But at the same time, in Asia, there's a lot of accountants that choose accounting because they may not be strong in English and they don't want to talk to people. So finding people who have a certain energy, smile, positivity, hopefully have a degree in some sort of accounting business, maybe has studied accounting, but they still have a lot to learn. I think that was very important.
So that's a key HR point, I think, for anyone thinking about their advisory practice. And I certainly learnt this when I was trying to grow an advisory practice within a large firm, but actually a lot of the people they'd hired weren't suitable to be put in front of other business owners. They were backroom accountants, and there's nothing wrong. Every business needs those, but actually having the charismatic skills or the human skills to interact and be that general practitioner for business is so important. So I think that's a huge point. When did you know that you'd jumped the shark, so to speak, that you were humming and that, or are you still on that journey?
Still learning. Still forever swimming with sharks. No, I would say, I jokingly said with you over lunch earlier, Fresh, when I came to Asia to look for a job and started Fresh as this interim solution, I really saw it as a not-for-profit, as I've worked in not-for-profits before. I wanted to learn what were we good at, what were we not good at, what could we improve, what could we do better. You're working with softwares. For example, with Spotlight Reporting, I met you in 2016, and we were one of the first Spotlight Reporting partners.
Showed up expecting to be fed in Wellington.
That was true, and thank you for lunch. But I also did come
still buying the lunch.
Thank you for that. Bigger expense account than mine. But then I also saw you in San Francisco when you were doing a certain event in 2017. So I followed Spotlight. We've tried to build relationships with software companies that have purpose.
And who's your stack? So who are the people?
The tech stack.
We don't want us to be just about Spotlight, although obviously that was a pivotal turning point in everyone's lives. Who else? What's the stack?
What's that other famous software out of New Zealand?
From New Zealand.
Begins with a Z, X.
A Z?
Zero. You had to think there.
Yeah.
Zero. Zero, we were actually, Mr. Audrey, Rod, we were lucky enough, our first client was a group of companies, a veterinary clinic. We went from being a no zero partner to having nearly 10 entities within a month.
Gold in those days.
It was.
Yeah.
No, gold came later. But we went through bronze, silver, and gold. And we were actually the first zero platinum partner in Asia alongside another firm in Hong Kong back, I think, in 2018.
Yeah.
So zero is very much part of our tech stack. What was very important from the accounting side was focus on one software, do it well. Don't try and do a little bit of everything. So the MEOPS, the Sage, the QuickBooks, the Zero.
People.
Focus on one thing and do it really, really well. That was the most important thing. I think from other softwares, coming from professional services, so I've worked in creative agencies, time and billing, really, really interesting. So we looked at Workflow Max, later Project Works, because we realized different clients like different softwares. But as long as they integrate to Zero, let's make it work. Inventory management, Sin 7 was Deer, now formerly Deer, now Sin 7. Working with Dex for some time, along with Approval Max.
Receipt Bank back in the day.
Receipt Bank, yes.
Skivvies, you got past that very well.
We actually, did I know it was Receipt Bank? Yeah, I think it was as Dex.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I knew them back when.
I think they never really saw Asia as an opportunity, so
Mm.
it was very hard to actually know what DEX was. I always did also always missay it in conversations with clients. I talk about text. No, it's actually DEX.
Text. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did get that one wrong.
Nice.
Um,
So
I
it's a
think
good rounded tech stack. Yep.
I think from reporting perspectives, Spotlight Reporting, one of the first Spotlight reporting partners, not just in Asia but globally.
The consolidation, multi-currency.
Because I think the three things that we see clients that are both Hong Kong, Singapore, Singapore, Hong Kong as a good example. So we'd see one client, two entities. This comes back to maybe a bit more my career beforehand, where I've never worked in practice. So as a management accountant, we talk about one client. What's that one client mean? One client, two entities, two countries. So consolidation, multi-currency, intercompany.
Whereas a lot of our users still, I mean, we do have lots of practices like yours as well, but they often have the multi-entity, multi-currency thing as a standout.
Yes.
It's bread and butter for you.
Yeah. It is actually just core of what we do.
Yeah.
Whenever someone talks about dollar, it's like, what are we talking about? Is it US dollar, Hong Kong dollar, Singapore dollar, New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar? So again, it's really interesting. Like we really think internationally here. And then, as I say, with other reporting softwares, more business become more complicated. We've sort of seen Sift Analytics, Translucent, but Spotlight Reporting has always been at the core of what we do. And that relationship that we have with clients, I think, is incredibly important. Of what is it that the client feels they need, and then as long as we have the base of zero correct, we then look at how we fill the gaps of what they might be missing.
Nice. So very client specific.
Yes.
Yeah. So part of listening to clients and staff is obviously, a huge part of the journey. As CEO, if I can call you that, I'm not sure what your title is.
Chief Entertaining Officer.
What's the vision for the next 5 years? You're the only accounting firm I know with a team in Nepal.
Correct.
Not up Mount Everest helping.
We're in the city, we're in the valley.
It's like exactly. Singapore's growing, you were telling me over lunch.
Hong Kong.
What next?
I think what's been very important, and again, there's so much around, costs of labor, it's hard to recruit, it's hard to retain people. The one fundamental thing we had was we built Hong Kong. We have always had a Singapore office since 2016. We have this incredible team, but when we see people leave the business, it's hard to replace. Through some really, really incredible clients, we were able to build an office in Kathmandu, and we deliberately chose Nepal.
Sounds cool, doesn't it?
It really does.
Cool. I want an office in Venice, but I can't quite make it happen. Despite repeated research and development there.
Venice. Oh, Venice. Sorry.
I know someone with some staff in Venezuela. Anyway, we won't go there.
Yeah. I think we chose Kathmandu because we wanted to recruit somewhere where not everyone else was doing it. The trodden path might be the Philippines, India, Malaysia. We actually wanted to speak to clients, and some of our team are Nepalese. Ash is one of the early members in Fresh in Hong Kong, originally from Nepal. We sort of knew and had an understanding of Nepal. And when clients were actually offering us space in their office and giving us CVs of candidates they said rejected or lost during COVID, it's around building relationships with clients that go beyond. And when clients actually help you find a solution to the problem, it actually meant we could build Nepal. And as we continue to evolve, building that Nepal office is just absolutely critical for us. We've deliberately put it on the website. We deliberately talk about it in interviews. And that's something as well, which it's cool to say this. It's really important. And one of the first team, Najal, who joined Fresh back in 2021 in Nepal, to this day is still there helping us run that business. And I think it's really important that you have to find talented people, build their careers, develop them. But even this year for Xerocon, we'll be sending one of the team from Singapore, that's me, two of the team from Hong Kong, and one of the team from Nepal to Australia later this year.
Lovely. It's about investing in the team.
Yes.
And I think one thing some accountants have struggled with, and when we get churn, we always ask why, And so often there's been in an accounting firm the one person who does advisory or the one person who knows how to use Spotlight. Talk to me, Paul, about how you managed to get the team across advisory. And I appreciate some of them will be bookkeepers, some will be doing accounting, so not everyone will be waving the jazz hands. But how have you broadened the net and empowered and educated the team?
So we've deliberately avoided the word bookkeeping. I think it's a bit frustrating because we talk about fresh accounting, and people still think we do bookkeeping. But then at the same time, when we're fresh accounting, there's this element of advisory and digital transformation, which isn't accounting. I think one of the things I always found from my experience growing up in London, accountants like using systems, but they hate changing systems or putting in a new process. So coming out to Asia, everyone hates systems. Everyone hates processes. Give me this one that doesn't work, I'll use it. So when Fresh was born, finding people who could actually be inquisitive, that if we're taking out a legacy system and putting in something new, how does this work? The change management is not the same chart of accounts for 4, that's 500 lines long. It's how do we change it and make this more meaningful? Advisory has been a word that actually...
So everyone's had their hands on the tech?
Yes. I would say the majority of the team have. As we've grown from when I first met you, those early years, we're a team of 5 to 10 people. We're a team of about 25 people now.
Medium size.
We're growing. We'll have to double it now to 50 in the next 12 months.
You'll be a large. You'll be officially a large.
I will be.
Yeah.
I'll be
quite the empire,
it'll be the larger M of the M.
Of the SMB.
Yeah. Trying to avoid the word large for now.
So the training, obviously you talked about hiring, how you're hiring different, you're not just looking for pointy heads. You've encouraged inquisitiveness around the tech. How do you keep up to date? How do you keep fresh?
Well, actually it's interesting.
Sorry, that was a terrible
Yes, really. No, it's good, thank you. I think what has been important is advisory, and again, it just covers such a large area. Advising people of how to change systems, what they need to do, bringing clients on board, learning software for the first time. How on earth do you do that? So you learn it with the software companies. So you build these relationships. What I've learned in Asia that's really important is that advisory, everyone thinks an advisor is a CFO, so advisory. But what we've now learned in Asia with the complexities of multi-currency, intercompany consolidation, it could be just a really bloody strong finance manager, a financial controller, finance director, or CFO. And it's actually the thing that's really, really important for us is, yes, to being able to offer clients a service that fits them, but more important is how on earth do you develop the team internally? So they go from being accountants to finance managers to financial controllers. And we have a terrible hierarchy in the sense that we hate titles. But to clients as well, we've noticed that if we say someone's a finance director, sometimes clients don't like that either.
Right.
So we sort of talk around being
So I
consultant.
think we're going to be paying more.
Yes.
Someone's called a finance director. Yeah. So how many of the team will be frontline, talking to clients on a regular basis? Maybe presenting a Spotlight report or a forecast?
I would say across Hong Kong, Singapore, and Nepal offices, I feel like I had to do mental maths first for this. I'd probably say it's at least 10 of the team.
Wow.
Maybe a bit more.
Quite a good spread. Because often it is the alpha or the founder who's doing the bulk of the work. So you've kind of built in a little bit of a succession plan here, haven't you?
Yeah, and actually the team have always told me that I'm probably the worst accountant in the business because they know I'm very good at understanding problems and finding solutions. So once you meet a client or potential client and we're going to be working with them, even the client doesn't necessarily want me involved. They know that there's going to be a team to handle it.
I found the same thing in my accounting practice. So much preferred Julie or Nick to
you.
Me because I was a pretty average accountant.
And I think that's the same. Maybe they just don't want me involved. They just don't want to work with me. But they actually allow the team to step up and take on the client. And I think that's something around, because I feel succession planning is how do you make yourself redundant? So it's about employing people smarter than you. Maybe not on day one, but they will be smarter than you. And actually the succession planning is also when you do have that incredible talent, how do you find other people who can come in to learn from that talent? So then the next level of people think about succession planning and redundancy.
Yep, absolutely. So it wouldn't be an advisory podcast without us talking about money. So you talked about being a bit of a not-for-profit in the years when you
in
were
the early
learning.
years. Yeah.
How do you price and package your advisory? What approach do you use? And I'm conscious too that Southeast Asia, where your empire doth lie, can be known to be quite tough
On fees.
yeah, I was trying to put it nicely.
A nice word.
Don't like paying too much money. How have you got packages? Do you do hourly rates? Do you do 6-minute increments? Please don't say that.
6 minute. You just said it, not me.
How do you?
So really, really interesting. For those early years we talk about from 2014 to 2020, running as almost not for profit, actually allowed us by 2020 when COVID hit to really know what we were good at. And the number of businesses we got to work with that actually had similar problems that allowed us to scale faster, scale quicker, go beyond break even and be pretty profitable. More interestingly, we invest profits back into the business anyway. The way in which we package it, we look at a project or a client that we onboard. If it's just accounting, or is it accounting plus reporting, so around financial control?
Yep.
Is it CFO? We would always look at how many hours do we think this problem is going to take?
Yep.
Then double it, perhaps, and then realize that might be the fee's not going to work. But I think we have to find a fee.
Well, accountants do tend to underestimate. We've all been caught out with that.
I think for us, with clients that we onboard with a problem, we will look at a fee and we think this is how many hours it is. So we'll say this is the fee that we think it is in the hours. We're recording the hours. If we come in over, we'll just have an honest conversation with the client based on the piece of work we're doing. If we come in under, then we'll just utilize some of those fees to go towards future work. We don't have increments of 6 minutes. I think one of the pieces around advisory is because we do see it as being accountants and CFO. There's nothing in between. I think in Asia, there is a lot of experienced, wise old people doing CFO. There's a lot of accounting firms doing accounting and bookkeeping. This bit in the middle around financial control, which is good, high quality reporting, using Spotlight reporting. Actually, that's where that missing gap is, I think, for clients. We'll always say to clients, we will find a way to support their business if they're missing something. So if they have a good bookkeeper, we can come in and help manage their finance team. If they have a really good financial controller, we'll just come in and do the basic accounts and work with the financial controller. We're just constantly finding ways to make something work. We work on a fixed fee basis, so it's kind of like that value add. And then I would say we
assessed annually.
Normally annually, but I think if the client, if we see the scope changing or evolving,
So
we will probably, it'd be a new project, or we'll look at how we change the fee quite quickly, maybe within 3 to 6 months. Because I think that sometimes can be a problem where...
I think it's a massive problem in the accounting profession in general. We let customers continue to suck at the teat, and then it's too late to backfill, essentially.
And I think we've learned, I think for those listening and watching this podcast, there are many types of clients. We try to put it into 3 buckets. Clients who, I was just doing the finger, sorry. Clients who can pay but won't pay. We don't want that type of client.
What do you do with those?
We just say no, can't work with you.
But
clients who can pay and will pay, they will want to bargain, they will want to negotiate, but they will pay and we work hard for it. And then there's clients who want us, but they can't really afford us. And so we find a different fee level to work with them to help. They also become our biggest advocates. And I think that allows us to win new work.
So if they're the kind of people and the kind of businesses you enjoy working with, or are doing worthy work, you'll try and find a way, but it's more being strong enough to say no when either an existing client or a prospect comes to you wanting the world but not prepared to.
And it's hard sometimes.
Few of them out there.
It's hard to say no to a client, because if you say no to a client, you lose a fee, but then you need to replace it. But sometimes it's better to actually have the capacity to take on new work, because if you say yes to things you don't really want to be doing, you or your team are not enjoying doing what they're doing. And I think it's
And
better
we've all
to.
got limited time, don't we?
Yep.
If we're spending that time on things we don't want to be doing.
I mean, what 60-hour work week, 80 hours? I mean, I think we've now learned from starting businesses that
Yep.
that's not sustainable.
No.
But we can't expect our team members to be working, the 60-hour week either.
No. And that's a big shift from certainly, I was going to say we, but being slightly older than you, and from a practice that was kind of expected in the early years as a badge of honour, but I think the times have moved on a little bit.
Yep.
As they should have. So just as we wrap, a few minutes to go, but I wanted to just, obviously you've got to a point where you've got this Southeast Asian empire, Singapore going really well. You've got the pad here, the pad in Hong Kong, Nick and you doing worthy work, team in Nepal, jetting around the world as you do. I think you got more airports than I do.
Competing.
If you could look back and think of the scared Paul Gardner that hopped off that plane in Hong Kong, what would you say to him?
What were you thinking? Why?
But you've made it work. You've made
that's
it work.
true. That's true.
How many people make it work?
I think you have to be brave. You if you're going to do something, you need to. You need to take risks. You need to learn from mistakes. I think quite often. I mean, I've not come from practice, so we can't do tax. We can't do audit. We can manage audit, and we work with mid-tier firms to smaller firms. Yeah. We can do really good accounting.
You've got a network, haven't you, that cover all bases.
But I think for myself,
you'd be a little bit proud, wouldn't you?
I would be. I think I was just saying earlier when we were walking here, I'm humbled for sure. I'm very proud of what's been accomplished. I think that 11 years of hard work is just going to continue. You have to invest. Once you get to a certain point, don't take your foot off the brake. You have to keep looking forwards, look at the new challenges, because even in accounting, the world in which we're in at the moment is changing, and how AI might be changing the way things are done in developed countries.
Hopefully taking some of the drudgery away.
I think so. Asia is still a bit backwards and behind. I don't know how AI can fully help, partly because of sometimes language and different cultures. But looking back, to be proud of myself, but at the same time to say keep going. And I think that one thing as well is it's a growing up strategy. We have to look at what do we want to do with our business. And we were talking earlier about succession planning, exit strategies. We have to see ourselves like our clients. What do we want to do when we grow up?
Yeah.
And I think we have to have different plans in our mind of where we want to be.
And I think one of the most powerful things we were talking about over lunch too was making sure, and this is something that I think is a big issue in industry, that we're not burning out. We're not working all hours. We aren't doing everything we could do. We're actually smelling the roses and living as well.
I think you have to. I think sometimes those early years it will be hard work, and if it isn't,
absolutely.
If there's no pain, there's no gain.
The right.
Correct. But I think there is a time where you should just stop, just like you are in between flights in Singapore. Stop, reflect, to look forwards, and just have those moments of being proud of yourself before you then kick yourself and realize that there's a deadline you haven't done for a client and it's something else that needs to be done, or a team review. But just take those little moments out to appreciate.
You did work a couple of hours before you had lunch with me.
3 hours.
But
there's no proof. Well, there is somewhere.
But no, it's so important. And look, I think you should be proud. You and Nick are absolutely smashing it, and all from, coming to a different land, planting a seed, and actually in a decade, that's quite a quick way to build a really successful business. You're one of our favourite customers. We love the attitude and the intent, and the fact that the team want to keep learning, want to keep pushing us. So after we finish this, we'll be talking about AI and all the other things that you guys are demanding. But yeah, look, it's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
You guys have become friends, and I think you've got a wonderful business. So
thank you so much.
Sharing.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you, everyone.
Until next time.